I've seen everything the job has to offer in terms of what crimes are committed. It's everything from simple thefts, harassment, right up to the more serious crimes of murder.
It was PC Daniel Stride's experience growing up that prompted a yearning for change in the society around him.
I grew up on a very socially deprived council estate in Ashford, and where there's deprivation, there's crime, and the fear of crime. And whilst you get used to it growing up, and you're living amongst it, it's not something that I enjoyed, and I wouldn't want anyone else to really go through. So I wanted to change that, try and help people where I could. And that's really the reason I became a police officer.
Little did Daniel know, someone from his childhood would come back to haunt him one evening.
No. No. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
Daniel and PC Chris Machoek have been crewed together many times and have a strong bond.
We've worked together for a couple of years. He's a tremendous guy, really hard-working police constable. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, always.
He truly understands the job. He truly does his best, for the victims that are out there that we deal with. He's one of the best in the force, really.
I would call Daniel a model officer when it comes to policing. Someone that I have learned a lot through his work, observing him, through his attitude to work, and how he always is prepared for everything. Outside of the job, he's one of the person I would trust with my personal issues. We're good buddies.
On Friday, June the 1st, 2018, Daniel and Chris started their shift at 9 p.m.
So we had just finished our briefing in the police station when we got the call to deploy to a burglary. And burglaries are quite a nasty crime, and it affects people in many ways. So we like to try and catch them in the act, because it's much better if we got the evidence there from ourselves of the people that are committing these crimes. When we got there, we knocked on the door. We didn't get any response at first, but my colleague Chris went to the left of the house.
I went around the building to see whether there was anyone there, but the gate was quite secure. Knocked on the gate and got a response from inside of the house saying that he was the person who called the police. I asked him to come down and open the gate.
When he comes to let them in, Daniel instantly recognises the troubled caller.
It was somebody that lived on the same street as me growing up when I was a kid for about 17 years on the same street. So I knew this person already.
We looked around. Obviously, the first thing is look for danger, just not to be surprised with anything. We couldn't find absolutely anything. We had a chat with him, found out why he called us. He said that there were noises and he could hear people in the garden, which we've checked again. I've checked the neighboring property. There was absolutely no sign of anyone there.
But we treated him like a true victim, and, as if there was a real burglary there, and see if there was any evidence of that, which we couldn't find.
We started to think that perhaps there is some other issue that we're dealing with.
It started to look like it was more of a mental health episode, that he may be seeing or hearing people in his garden.
He was frantically looking outside in the garden and in the house. I offered to come and help him with search of the house to make sure he was safe, but he refused. He didn't seem to be quite with me at the time.
So we talked to him, we discussed things, and found out that he did suffer from psychosis, which is a mental health condition. He said he was hearing voices, and he confirmed that he had taken about 1 gram of cocaine, which is quite a substantial amount. His condition was exacerbated by the drugs, really, so he was very, very paranoid. He was very wide-eyed, very erratic in nature, and kept walking about, very fast-paced, in and out of, you know, the communal corridors, into his bedroom, outside. So it was a bit of a concern for us.
We thought that the best thing would be to call mental health assistance. The phone got disconnected through the lack of signal, so I told Daniel I will go outside of the house to get better signal and to call them again. I thought there's something not quite right in here, not necessarily striking me as dangerous to anyone, but just something not right. So I went out to call mental health again, and I was told that this male was not under mental health services, but having considered his reaction to possibly taking drugs, and it was causing him to be in quite distressed situation, I decided to call an ambulance.
While Chris is contacting the ambulance service, the resident leads Daniel upstairs.
His bedroom was on the top floor of the building. It was like a townhouse. It was a multi-occupancy, so he really only had his room with communal rooms as well. His room was quite small, very similar to a police cell, really. He was totally calm. He gave me no concern at that point. I tried communicating with him because he tried to break some of his property, and I thought, well, he's going to regret that. But he didn't really kind of engage back. And the real moment of concern was when he took a TV off of his bedside units and put it on his bed and took out a knife from his bedside drawer and tried stabbing the TV with it, as if he was trying to pry it open to stop whatever he was hallucinating. I was very concerned at that point, and it was a big problem because of the knife aspect. I didn't want him to harm himself, I didn't want him to harm me, but because he hadn't shown me any signs of aggression at that point, it would have been wrong of me to steam in and try and take that knife from him. And I had other considerations. The door opened inwards, so I didn't want to turn my back to somebody with a knife because it was quite a small space. So I decided to try and maintain as much control as I could by approaching him. I asked him to give me the knife.
Let's take the knife off you. Let's take the knife off of you. Get off.
And with both hands, he just tried to drive the knife into me.
No, 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 no. 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 No.
Now, I managed to overcome him on the first occasion. That's when I was able to get in an emergency call to raise awareness to my other colleagues that there was a male with a knife.
No. No.
When I was on the phone to the emergency ambulance services, I could sense my radio buzzer going, which normally comes only through someone pressing the emergency button, and I could hear the address and the call out for male with knife. So I immediately thought, oh, it must be Daniel. Went back into the house, but because it was a two-story house with multiple occupants, I didn't have a clue where they would be in the house. So I called out for Daniel, but I had absolutely no reply. It was complete silence.
Later, it's a race against time as Daniel is in the fight of his life.
No. No.
Felt the pressure of the knife going into my chest.
No.
Probably not going to see my family again. Am I going to die?
No.
In Ashford, PC's Daniel Stride and Chris Machoek have been called to a reported burglary. which turned out to be a false alarm. But Daniel knows the caller.
It was somebody that lived on the same street as me growing up. Found out that he did suffer from psychosis, and he confirmed that he had taken about 1 gram of cocaine.
While Chris is calling an ambulance, the caller starts attacking Daniel with a knife.
No, 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 no.
He just tried to drive the knife into me. That's when I was able to get in an emergency call to raise awareness to my other colleagues.
Meanwhile, Chris is desperately searching the house for Daniel.
I called out, but I had absolutely no reply. It was complete silence.
He then turned the knife on me again, and we wrestled again.
No. 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 What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
But that time, the knife did actually drive twice into my stab-proof vest.
No. No.
And whilst I felt the pressure of the knife going into my chest, luckily my stab-proof saved me. Now, he was using all of his strength with both hands, and I was using all my strength to try and keep the knife away from me.
No. No.
Immediately after, he tried to drive the knife into my leg, and because it was on the inside of my right thigh, the femoral artery runs along there, and it was kind of around that area, so I knew that if that got severed, it's a very short bleed-out time, and you know that could have been fatal. It's as if time had slowed down. Lots of thoughts go through your head very quickly. You know, I'm probably not going to see my family again. Am I going to die? Or being so badly injured that I wouldn't be able to be a police constable anymore.
Daniel has been struggling for over 2 minutes now, and Chris is still frantically trying to find them.
What annoyed me more is just not knowing where they were, because I could have come to his aid much sooner if I knew what the location was.
I just had to use sheer strength to try and overpower him, which I've eventually done. Pinned him to his bed.
Take out a knife. I'm a police officer.
Took hold of a knife blade. I'd rather much lose a finger than my life, so I took hold of the blade and I gripped that with as much strength as I could, and eventually I pried it from his fingers, working along the knife.
Take out the knife. Come on, mate. We don't need to do this. Right.
Once I got control of that, I took it and I held it behind my back, and that's when my colleague came into the room.
When I was just outside of the door, I still had heard nothing from inside. So I opened the door and I saw Daniel actually keeping the male on his side, on the bed, holding knife behind, giving me the knife. So he just tried to stab me. So So I took the knife, took it outside of the door, just if the guy got loose, couldn't get hold of it, and went to assist Daniel, asked him how he was.
It was great relief when I saw Chris come in through the door. That really sort of like reassured me that, you know, it was going to get a little bit easier from then on.
Daniel's energy was spent. He said, I'm quite fatigued now. So I managed to, with Daniel's help, turn the male on his front, handcuff him, and we made further calls for further assistance, for further patrols to come to the site.
That's when I arrested him, and we managed to restrain him.
You're under arrest. On suspicion of assault in place. Do not have to say anything. Be made harm in defence. If you do not mention my question, I'll tell you later on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence.
And then we had to put in some aftercare as well, just to make sure he's breathing and he wasn't suffering from positional asphyxia, which Chris done really, really well. The sentimental value of knowing somebody that you used to live on the same street with, that goes out the window, because you've got to look at the risk of what's happening there and then.
Within minutes, backup officers arrive.
Immediately after the incident, I had so much adrenaline running through my body that it just purged and I broke down. And because I thought I was going to die through the incident when it was going into my chest, I just got overcome by emotion, and I just broke down at that point.
It was a hard day, more for Daniel, because he had to go through this rather than for me, who just happened to be there and was able to assist him a little bit with the obviously horrible situation he was in.
Chief Constable of Kent Police, Alan Pusely, receives more and more reports of attacks on his officers.
When I was briefed that a member of the public had a lethal weapon, a sharp knife of about 5-6 inches long, and he had, for a sustained period, tried to stab one of my officers in a confined space, and that knife was plunged into him 2 or 3 times into the body armour, horrendous. I was relieved initially that the injuries were not more severe. But when you see things like that and you hear things like truly heroic policing by Daniel on this occasion, your blood does run cold, because it could have been much worse. We deal with death. We deal with serious injury. And unfortunately, some of the deaths and the serious injury we deal with as a result of knife crime. From 2010 to 2018, we had 152% increase in knife crime, the highest in the UK. So that was about 300 offences to about 800 offences in a yearly period, massive. I'm just really disappointed with society that criminals think it's okay to assault a police officer. No, it isn't. It just isn't. Those people who do that should be punished appropriately, and in my view, that should be prison.
The offender was convicted of attempted wounding with intent to cause grievous bodily harm. He was sentenced to 9 years in prison, with an additional 3 years on licence.
Yeah, I was overwhelmed when I heard the result, but in reality, he will actually end up serving a lot less. So he's only got to do 2/3 of his sentence, which is about 6 years, and he can apply for parole in 2024. For now, he's in a safe place, yeah.
Daniel made the decision to get back to work almost immediately after the incident.
I knew that if I didn't return to policing on the following set of shifts, I probably wouldn't be policing at all. It's one of those situations, as soon as you fall off the horse, you've got to get back on it. I think, I would have lost the momentum and probably the confidence to carry on policing. So it was important to me to get back into work as soon as I could. I was quite nervous going back into work. It was quite difficult, but, I had good support around me, so that kind of really helped and eased me back in. But there's not a day that I don't go on duty, putting on my vest and not know how much risk we're in sometimes. So that's the true fact of it, really.
I thought he was a little bit withdrawn and possibly a little bit concerned. But I was always happy to go out with him, because I know I can rely on him every time.
He may be more cautious now, but Daniel is glad to be back doing what he loves. And thankfully, not all jobs are life-threatening.
I made you spill your coffee once.
Didn't, but nearly.
Yeah.
We're looking for actually lost sheep, weren't we? Sheep on the road. And we're just flying around to prevent any accidents with sheep on the road. And I was looking at the map, and there was sudden braking.
Yeah, it was controlled braking.
Oh, of course it was. That nearly brought my breakfast out.
Despite the dangers of the job and the rise of attacks on police, Daniel and Chris are determined to continue protecting and serving the public.
There is always a thought that something could happen, but the job in itself makes the risk worth taking.
When we get in trouble, we can only rely on each other. We don't have an emergency service to call to come and help us when we're in trouble. So it's really important, you know, to have a good team and make those bonds. I'd like to thank him from the bottom of my soul on how much it meant to me, you know, him being there.
I'm actually glad it was him, because someone else possibly wouldn't be able to deal with the situation as well as he did. I'm glad he's okay. I'm really glad he's okay. He's my hero.